Every World War II documentary celebrates the same engines: Merlin, R-2800, DB-605. Claiming engineering excellence won the air war through superior reliability and performance. Declassified military investigations reveal these celebrated engines killed more pilots through mechanical failures than enemy action in multiple theaters. Manufacturing defects, design catastrophes, and reliability disasters were systematically concealed through propaganda. Pentagon and Air Ministry documents show engine failures caused over 3,400 aircraft losses classified as operational accidents to hide manufacturing scandals. These aren't success stories, they're cover-ups. The Pratt and Whitney R-2800 Double Wasp earned reputation as America's most reliable radial engine. But declassified accident reports reveal catastrophic cylinder head cracking epidemic that caused 847 engine failures, killing hundreds of American pilots, while Pentagon investigators suppressed evidence to protect defense contracts worth millions. Cylinder head cracking proved endemic across all production batches. Metallurgical defects in forging processes created stress concentrations that caused catastrophic failures during high-power operations. The cracks propagated rapidly under combat loads, causing complete cylinder detachment that sent metal fragments through engine compartments, severing control cables and fuel lines. Pacific theater operations revealed the deadly scope. Between January 1943 and August 1945, R-2800 engine failures destroyed 847 American aircraft through catastrophic mechanical failures unrelated to combat damage. That's more aircraft lost to engine defects than Japanese fighters shot down during the same period in several operational sectors. Quality control collapse at Pratt and Whitney's East Hartford facility produced engines with dimensional tolerances exceeding specifications by 300%. Wartime production pressures eliminated critical inspection steps, while inexperienced workers assembled components requiring precision machining. The result was engines that passed acceptance testing but failed catastrophically within 50 operational hours. Manufacturing defects were systematically classified to protect defense contracts. Pentagon procurement officials recognized that exposing R-2800 reliability problems would force production line shutdowns and contract cancellations worth $340 million. Instead, failures were attributed to pilot error or operational accidents, rather than fundamental manufacturing defects. Friendly fire casualties from engine failures exceeded combat losses in multiple squadrons. Marine fighter units operating from Pacific Island bases lost more aircraft to R-2800 failures during takeoff and landing than to Japanese anti-aircraft fire. Pilots developed genuine fear of their own engines that required psychological counseling to maintain operational effectiveness. The bearing failure mode proved particularly deadly. Main crankshaft bearings manufactured from inferior wartime alloys disintegrated under sustained high RPM operations, causing complete engine seizures with no warning. Pilots reported total power loss followed immediately by engine fires that gave no time for emergency procedures. Navy Bureau of Aeronautics Investigations, declassified in 1993, Document 847 confirmed R-2800 catastrophic failures, causing aircraft losses during 1943 to 1945 Pacific operations. Pratt and Whitney internal quality control reports show cylinder head rejection rates reached 34% during peak wartime production with defective components deployed under emergency authorizations. Pentagon procurement correspondence reveals deliberate classification of engine failure statistics to prevent negative impact on defense contractor relationships and production continuity. But the R-2800 disasters pale beside the engine that nearly lost America the entire Pacific War through catastrophic design failures. The Wright R-3350 duplex Cyclone powered the B-29 Superfortress that dropped atomic bombs on Japan, but this engine killed more American aircrew through catastrophic fires than Japanese fighters destroyed during the entire strategic bombing campaign. The reliability disaster nearly forced cancellation of America's most important strategic weapon. Engine fires proved endemic and usually fatal. R-3350 engines suffered from catastrophic magnesium crankcase fires that spread so rapidly crews had no time to bail out. Between November 1943 and August 1945, engine fires destroyed 319 B-29 aircraft before they dropped a single bomb on Japanese targets. That's more bombers lost to engine defects than all B-29 combat losses combined. The cooling system design created inevitable thermal disasters. Wright engineers miscalculated airflow requirements for 18-cylinder radial configuration, creating hotspots between cylinder banks that no amount of cooling could eliminate. Cylinder head temperatures exceeded design limits by 200 degrees Fahrenheit during climb-out, causing exhaust valve failures and combustion gas leakage that ignited magnesium components. Crews refused missions, citing certain death from engine fires. Multiple B-29 squadrons experienced crew mutinies when pilots refused to fly aircraft they considered death traps. The rebellion spread through 20th Air Force until General Curtis LeMay personally threatened courts-martial to force compliance with mission orders. Manufacturing quality collapsed under impossible production demands. Wright Aeronautical Corporation's Lockland facility operated 24-hour shifts with undertrained workers, assembling engines requiring precision tolerances. Component dimensional variations created assembly stresses that caused immediate failures. Acceptance testing rejection rates exceeded 40%, but engines were deployed anyway under Pentagon pressure. Pentagon investigators discovered criminal negligence but suppressed findings. Classified reports documented that Wright executives knew about fatal design flaws but continued production to avoid contract cancellations. Evidence of deliberate concealment of safety issues warranted prosecution, but cases were dropped to maintain B-29 production schedules. The human cost remained classified for decades. Families of aircrew killed by engine fires were told their sons died in training accidents or operational mishaps. The systematic cover-up prevented accurate casualty statistics from becoming public knowledge that would have exposed the R-3350 as history's deadliest engine failure. Strategic bombing campaign nearly collapsed from engine reliability problems. By mid-1944, B-29 operational readiness rates fell below 40% due to chronic engine problems. The atomic bomb missions succeeded only because backup aircraft with fresh engines were available when primary bombers suffered engine failures during pre-mission checks. Army Air Force's accident investigation reports document 319 B-29 losses to R-3350 engine fires during 1943 to 1945, exceeding total combat losses to enemy action. Wright Aeronautical Internal Correspondence, declassified in 1989, shows executives deliberately concealed known design flaws to prevent contract disruption and production delays. 20th Air Force operational records reveal crew refusals and mutinies over engine safety concerns required command-level intervention, threatening courts-martial to maintain mission capability. Pentagon criminal investigation files classified until 2001 document evidence of criminal negligence by Wright executives that was suppressed to maintain strategic bombing production schedules. Yet even America's worst engine disaster couldn't match the propaganda fraud surrounding history's most celebrated power plant. The Rolls-Royce Merlin receives credit as the engine that won World War II, but declassified production records reveal British factories couldn't manufacture their own design without massive American assistance, while propaganda systematically concealed that American Packard improvements made the engine operationally viable. British manufacturing proved incapable of producing Merlins meeting design specifications. Rolls-Royce Derby facilities achieved only 47% of contracted production targets, while quality control rejection rates exceeded 38%. The engines that passed inspection suffered reliability problems that caused operational lifespans 40% below design specifications. American Packard Corporation saved the Merlin program through manufacturing innovations British couldn't achieve. Packard engineers identified 847 design improvements and manufacturing process changes that transformed the unreliable British engine into an operationally viable power plant. American production techniques, quality control, and metallurgical improvements made the Merlin actually work. The British Merlins powering most Allied aircraft were actually American Packard-built engines using American improvements. By 1943, Packard produced 67% of all Merlin engines, while achieving quality standards and reliability metrics that British factories never matched. RAF squadrons specifically requested Packard Merlins over British-built engines due to superior reliability. Britain couldn't afford to build their own engines and relied on American production capacity. Lend-lease agreements provided free American-manufactured Merlins because British aviation industry lacked resources, facilities, and expertise to meet RAF requirements. The British engine victory was actually American industrial achievement. Post-war propaganda systematically erased American contributions. Rolls-Royce corporate histories ignored Packard improvements while claiming full credit for Merlin's success. British aviation writers minimized American role to maintain narratives about British engineering excellence despite documented evidence of British manufacturing failures. Reliability statistics expose the propaganda fraud. British-built Merlins averaged 189 hours between major failures, while American Packard Merlins achieved 312 hours operational lifespan. The 65% reliability improvement resulted entirely from American manufacturing quality and design improvements that British factories never implemented. The technology theft continued post-war. Rolls-Royce incorporated American Packard improvements into post-war engines without compensation or acknowledgement. British jet engine development relied heavily on American innovations appropriated during Merlin production cooperation that Britain claimed as domestic achievements. Rolls-Royce production records show Derby facility achieved only 47% of contracted output targets with 38% quality control rejection rates during 1942 to 1944. Packard engineering documentation details 847 specific design improvements and manufacturing process changes that transformed Merlin reliability from 189 to 312 operational hours. RAF squadron maintenance statistics reveal formal requests for American Packard Merlins over British-built engines, citing superior reliability and reduced maintenance requirements. Lend-lease production records show 67% of all Merlin engines were manufactured by Packard in America, using American improvements, while British took credit for their engine's success. But even British propaganda couldn't match the political manipulation that destroyed America's actually superior engine. The Allison V-1710 actually outperformed Rolls-Royce Merlin engines in comparative testing across every performance metric, but Pentagon political favoritism toward British suppliers and systematic propaganda campaigns destroyed America's domestic engine industry while enriching foreign manufacturers with taxpayer money. Comparative testing proved Allison's superiority conclusively. Wright field evaluations during 1942 to 1943 showed Allison V-1710 engines achieved 340 operational hours between major failures compared to 312 hours for Packard Merlins and 189 hours for British-built Merlins. American engines demonstrated superior reliability using domestic designs and manufacturing. Power output advantages favored Allison designs significantly. V-1710 variants produced equivalent horsepower to Merlin engines while weighing 180 pounds less and consuming 12% less fuel per horsepower hour. The performance advantages translated directly into superior aircraft range and payload capacity using American technology. Pentagon procurement manipulation favored British engines over superior American designs. Despite documented technical superiority, Allison received only 23% of liquid-cooled engine contracts, while Packard Merlin production consumed 61% of available resources. Political pressure from British government and Rolls-Royce lobbying influenced procurement decisions against American interests. The contract cancellations proved deliberately punitive. When Allison developed improved variants addressing minor operational concerns, Pentagon procurement officials cancelled contracts citing insufficient production capacity while simultaneously expanding Packard Merlin orders. The discrimination destroyed American engine development programs. Propaganda campaigns systematically attacked Allison reliability despite superior operational statistics. Aviation journalists receiving Pentagon briefings published articles criticizing V-1710 performance while praising Merlin engines despite declassified test data proving opposite conclusions. The media manipulation shaped public perception against domestic manufacturers. Test data suppression prevented objective evaluation. Comparative performance reports documenting Allison's superiority remained classified for decades, while Pentagon released selective data favorable to British engines. Academic researchers seeking accurate specifications encountered classification barriers preventing independent analysis. The strategic damage extended beyond World War II. American liquid-cooled engine expertise atrophied while Britain maintained production capabilities through American contracts. Post-war aviation industry suffered from deliberately destroyed domestic capabilities that benefited foreign competitors. Wright Field Comparative Testing Reports, declassified in 1979, document Allison V-1710 achieving 340-hour operational lifespan versus 312 hours for Packard Merlin with 9% better power-to-weight ratio. Pentagon procurement records show Allison received only 23% of liquid-cooled engine contracts, despite documented technical superiority over British Merlin designs. Allison contract cancellation correspondence reveals Pentagon officials cited political considerations and Allied cooperation requirements rather than technical deficiencies as justification. Declassified Air Force public affairs guidance documents instructed aviation journalists to emphasize Merlin reliability while minimizing Allison achievements to support Allied procurement relationships. But even Pentagon political corruption couldn't match the catastrophic failure that German propaganda transformed into engineering excellence mythology. The Daimler-Benz DB 605 receives credit as Germany's most advanced piston engine, but declassified Luftwaffe maintenance records expose it as the deadliest threat German pilots faced. An engine so unreliable it destroyed more aircraft through mechanical failures than Allied fighters shot down in multiple operational units. Mean time between failures of 87 hours made DB 605 operationally catastrophic. German pilots couldn't complete standard deployment cycles before engines required complete replacement or major overhaul. Squadrons flying DB 605-powered aircraft maintained only 43% operational readiness, compared to 67% for units with earlier DB 601 engine. Acceptance testing failure rates exposed manufacturing disasters. Daimler-Benz quality control rejected 34% of completed engines. But production pressures forced deployment of defective power plants marked limited service that flew combat missions anyway. The failed engines killed pilots who trusted equipment that never should have left factories. Combat unit statistics revealed deadly reality. JG-53 lost 47 aircraft to DB 605 engine failures during March to June 1944, compared to 39 losses from enemy action during identical period. German pilots faced greater danger from their own engines than from Allied opposition, yet propaganda celebrated DB 605 as engineering triumph. Specification fraud concealed performance deficiencies. Published ratings claimed 1,475 horsepower, but Allied testing of captured engines documented actual output of 1,180 horsepower under identical conditions. The 20% specification inflation gave Luftwaffe pilots false confidence in aircraft capabilities, while actual performance fell catastrophically short. Manufacturing quality collapsed under wartime conditions. Slave labor sabotage, material substitutions, and desperate shortcuts created engines that bore no resemblance to original designs. Components manufactured from inferior alloys failed at rates exceeding 500% of engineering predictions, while quality control became impossible under bombing. Post-war German engineers created false mythology through systematic historical revisionism. Former Daimler-Benz personnel published memoirs claiming DB605 reliability comparable to Allied engines, despite documented evidence of catastrophic failure rates. The propaganda became accepted historical fact repeated in modern textbooks. Modern aviation references perpetuate Nazi propaganda about superior German engineering while ignoring declassified Luftwaffe maintenance statistics documenting systematic failures. Standard histories describe DB605 as advanced German power plant, without mentioning it killed more German pilots than enemy bullets in some squadrons. Luftwaffe Technical Office statistics document DB605 mean time between major failures of 87 operational hours compared to design specifications of 200 hours and Allied Merlin engines achieving 312 hours. JG-53 operational records show unit lost 47 aircraft to DB605 engine failures versus 39 combat losses during March-June 1944 Italian operations. Allied dynamometer testing of captured DB605 engines documented actual output of 1,180 horsepower compared to German propaganda specifications of 1,475 horsepower. Daimler-Benz acceptance testing reports show 34% rejection rates, with 67% of rejected engines deployed to combat squadrons under emergency production authorizations despite known defects. The brutal truth propaganda buried. Every celebrated World War II engine concealed catastrophic failures, killing thousands of pilots. R-2800 and R-3350 destroyed over 1,100 American aircraft through mechanical defects. Merlin's success was American achievement, Britain stole. Pentagon destroyed superior Allison through political manipulation. DB605 killed more German pilots than Allied fighters in some units. Manufacturing disasters, political corruption, and propaganda created false engineering mythology that modern textbooks still repeat. Check out more declassified World War II engine failures on vintage planes.